project. For me, it was not the correct.
The 3 trillion they're talking about is even an annual figure.
Yes.
Not cumulative over a period of time.
Not at
That's
all.
almost the entire, well, it's almost the entire budget as we currently speak for. But you say we need right now about $57.7 billion.
Annually.
Annually?
Yes.
But you said it was going to be an increment.
Increment of 4.5.
Yes.
On a yearly basis. By 2025, by 2030, Nigeria population is expected to be 263 million. Those population growth have to be catered for. New infrastructure have to be built. The old ones have to be maintained. And as a result, I
have quite a number of questions swimming in my head. Yeah. First of all, let me take you up on this one. Why do you think that this gap has been allowed to build?
Well, I think basically it's as a result of lack of planning. And when I talk of planning, I'm talking of strategic planning and operational planning. I was privileged to have studied in Malaysia. And when I did my last studies, I did a comparison analysis between Nigeria and Malaysia for some specific purpose. One, we are at the same level at the equator. We have the same weather and a lot of other things. When I got to Malaysia in 2007 for my master's degree, few weeks into my study, I heard about the Iskandar Development Region, which they intend to develop so that they can become an industrialized nation. Few weeks ago, there was a presentation on that on CNN by Richard Quest, where he showed the progress they've made as at 2017. And I could see that you can see these are people that are plans. When I went back to Malaysia in 2012 for a conference, I was privileged to have been taken back to the same area. When I saw the level of development that those guys have done, it marvels me. But in Nigeria, we are good at talking, but putting it into action is where the problem lies.
So what do you think is the problem? I mean, you say that we're putting it into action because at some point, people believe that when we put it in the budget, when we say this is what we want to do, and we budget for it, it gives people hope. But at the end of the day, it's just not sufficient. Is there something wrong we're doing with our budgeting process?
Yeah, like they said, life rewards action. Putting it in the budget, for me, will never translate into real implementation.
Why is that?
Okay, for instance, our foreign debt as of today is about 64 billion. Our economic growth has just remained stagnant. There's a disconnection somewhere because those infrastructures are needed to bring about the economic growth that we require. But at the end of the day, these projects are abandoned. I just gave you an instance about 56,000 capital projects abandoned in Nigeria. And as a result, they even refer to Nigeria as a junkyard of abandoned projects. So when projects are put in the budget and they are abandoned, you can't expect the return to come out from there. And research has also proven that every $1 spent will yield a return of 5 to 25% revenue. Why are we not experiencing that in Nigeria as at today? The reason is these projects are never completed. Some that are completed were not done properly. For instance, there's this road between Buhari, if you are going to Kaduna, there's this shortcut along Buhari Road. That project is currently ongoing. It has not been finished, but it has started failing. Now, when we build not to last, how do we expect that we can get something positive from there? So
from what you know, assuming government were to say today, maybe we have been doing things wrong in the past and we really need the help of your professional group, you know, to set things on the right path. I mean, we don't want to be experiencing failed bridges and we really think that we need to build on this infrastructure. What would you be telling government to take care of in its processes to ensure that, you know, we are able to finish the projects that we start? Yeah, the first thing is planning. Like they normally say, he that fails to plan, plan to fail. And when I talk about planning, we also need to disintegrate it into a smaller component. What do we want to achieve? Why do we want to achieve that? How much will it cost? Who will do it? For what purpose? And all those questions must be answered. Once we're able to answer that question, then we can now begin to figure out
what approach, what mode of procurement are we going to use? It's not the normal open bidding system that we do in Nigeria. Most government outside, they do open bidding, but there is a process. The process is there will be technical evaluation before financial. If you don't scale through the technical evaluation, you can never go through the financial whatever. But in Nigeria, how many of the projects do we handle go through that? Virtually none. Because most time we use personal connections and just award contract and so on and so forth. Before a project is embarked upon, apart from the cost estimate which are prepared by the quantity surveyor, which is the bill of quantities, you are expected to provide your method statement. Because that method statement will tell me or whoever who is assessing your submission that you've fully understood what you are expected to do, and that the cost you are bringing is commensurate with that. But when we don't do any of those things, is like it's just a wishful thinking. For instance, in the Middle East, for every project they embark on, because I was privileged to work in Qatar, they have through the Act of Parliament 15% addition to the cost that is provided. And no project will be abandoned. Same thing in Dubai. Because the reason is if there's any cost overrun, which is not due to any external factors, the consultant who prepared that as a question to answer, most often they go to jail. Because it's as a result of professional negligence. For example, like Oshun issue that I cited earlier, why will a project be completed and commissioned and it's not working? It means something has gone amiss. Or like you and Oshun were saying the other time, that they've provided the government also some additional component or what to be provided to make that thing functional. It's unheard of. How will a project be designed and somebody is now saying there's some scope that were not provided that needs to be provided to make it functional? So the first thing first, proper planning. After planning, we need to do proper scheduling. Like most of our projects that have time and cost overrun, we don't even have program schedule. And when we talk of program schedule, it's not only about the duration.